Learn to cut. Got the cutting done. So now we're going to be able to make our parts so that we can start doing the welding portion of the class. And we're going to start with 1/8 inch diameter, 6010 or 6011. We actually start with a little harder of electrode and we work our way to an easier electrode. So this first part's going to take some patience. And again, we're going to talk about it over and over again. You know, they've proven that it takes 21 days of continual work to develop a muscular response. This is a muscular response. This isn't algebra where we study some theory. What we're doing now, the theory part, or beginning theory part, is behind us, and we're going to now get down to brass tacks of forming a weld. And since we're going to do that, it's shielded metal arc welding. So we have our electrode. That's the shielded, the core wire's metal. So it's shielded metal. Arc is what we have to form. The arc is just simply an air gap between our work and the end of the electrode. Okay? So most of the time that air gap is going to be 1/8 of an inch. And we use that electrode diameter rule as the constant. Now, we can fudge that a little bit, but when we start drawing a long arc, we start pulling more than that 1/8 inch of an electrode gap, we start having some characteristics that are not desirable. So we're going to keep it right down on the plate. So challenge number one. Once we get this thing lit, we have to remind ourselves that this is a consumable electrode. It is actually consumed. It becomes part of the weld pool. So we have to continually feed this into the weld pool. If we don't, we're going to get the long arc. All right, that's where we're no longer an 1/8 of an inch. Now we're up there at 3/16 of an inch, 1/4 inch. Heck, I've seen people up to 1/2 inch with it. Okay, ground clamps in place. The machine's not on because I don't want to flash anybody in the audience. But we're going to go ahead and stick the bare end of the electrode into the stinger. Now, here comes the tricky part. As we're coming into our workpiece, I'm going to go ahead and come in and drag my electrode, and it's going to be kind of a U motion where we're going to come in, drag, contact. We don't want to stick it because that's going to be that dead short we talk about. And here in a little bit, you'll see in the video that we're going to come in and we'll have a couple examples of where we do stick it. And if we do actually dead short it to the work, we simply put our hand on the work and break it loose, okay? Hold the work down. I don't want to look out there in the booth and see somebody flopping around with a stinger with a piece of work stuck to the end of it, okay? Now, if we can't get it off, we're going to simply open the stinger, pop it off, and then we'll break the electrode free, okay? All right, so again, come in, strike the arc. We're going to make a drag, and at first you can actually just drag it along the work to get it to arc, and then pull it up long, and by long I mean about 3/8 of an inch, shorten it up, pause for a second, and then begin your movement, all right? Okay, so in the following videos, you're going to see us do that, and we're going to slow-mo it, and then we're going to live speed it. Then we're going to move to actually doing a drag bead. And so when we move to doing the drag bead, and that's actually forming a weld bead, and with our electrode 6010, we start with a drag bead, and then we move to what's called a whip and pause manipulation of the electrode. This particular electrode is your second electrode. It's 7018. This is actually a drag electrode. So we're going to come in, strike our arc, pull a long arc, shorten up, and then we're going to progress. And we're just going to progress, and at first you're going to progress fairly quickly. You're going to go too fast. Anthony and I and Jesse will tell you, slow down, slow down. And that's going to be continual, all right, until you get the idea of what we're looking for. So don't get impatient. Understand that you're going to stick the electrode to start with. After your first day in the shop, if we're running beads, it's a win. If you're not, it's not a big deal. We'll get it second day, all right? So let's go ahead and check out the videos and get going on welding. Okay, so one of the things that we really want to start getting used to doing is making dry runs. And that actually is just something that we're going to do to make sure our position's right and everything's good to go. And we're going to do that here. So remember, dry run means simply that the power's off. I'm just going to go ahead and make a quick kind of sweeping motion. When we're doing this when the machine's on, we'll get quite a bit of spark. We're going to drag, long arc, shorten up. Okay, again, drag, long arc, shorten up. And once we stay there for a while and get our position down, and we'll see that in these slow motion videos, we're going to be able to see that you can get the dragging motion followed by a brief long arc, and you'll see it as a really bright flash right there. And then as we shorten our arc, it becomes more focused, okay? And you can kind of see, filter didn't do us justice on this one, but it actually gets the point across. So here we go again, going to be real simple. Drag, long arc, and then we're going to shorten up our arc. Now, the things we got to start focusing on is, now notice right there's the good arc length. and we're going to have a nice bright orange blister following that. That's our weld pool. So we're actually starting to do some dragging there for the most part. Again, with this machine that we were running there, it was kind of a tricky guy to get started. Don't be afraid to go ahead and just drag the length of your plate. If you're having some difficulties getting this thing lit, don't be afraid to make some scratches on your plate. It's going to leave some little black dots, but that's fine. Again, long arc. Now we pull it up a little bit, let her get started, and that's kind of a warm-up. When we long arc like that, we let the arc initiate, we let the flux start doing its job. We can see that, you can kind of see the gas cloud that's surrounding the weld pool there. And those are all those part of those significant dynamics that have to occur when we're trying to get this done. Short arc, long arc. Now we're going to shorten up and focus. Bright orange blister right behind the weld pool, or right behind the electrode, excuse me. That's our weld pool. And we can see it actually building. Now, challenging part's going to be to keep feeding it in. And we'll get into that when we start talking about drag beads in the next video. All right. Along the way here, we're going to pull a long arc and leave it long for a while so you guys can see that the arc is waving back and forth. And this is a really common thing, and actually not a bad thing to do, just to get yourself started, get it initiated. But we can see that we have a whole bunch of large spatter out here. All those large dingleberries laying around out there, that is actually caused by too long of an arc. We shortened it, we got focused, and now once that arc focuses itself, we start producing a weld. All right. Again, it's going to be a challenging thing for you at first. One of the reasons we start with this is because this electrode, they're a stick. Now, all it is a matter of moving it back and forth, break it off, all right? Now, don't flip your hood up until you get it broke off, because you can see most everything you're doing, and you won't get that bright flash with these auto change hoods. Again, we've established the arc. Now we're going to do it in real time. Real time is a little more challenging. It's going to be a little shorter vid, this part of the vid, but when we're doing it in real time, we're going to actually see the event occur, and exactly, it's very brief. Starts and restarts are very brief in this thing. And again, if we have any problems with the sticking, there we go. This is the exact same video from slow-mo. So that's all it is right there. We're going to strike, pull it long, and you can see we don't stay long very long, for very long. You don't see, it's a very brief amount of time that we stay long to let that arc get established, and then we start moving. Average length of an electrode that you get welding-wise should be about 8 inches. So 6 to 8, depending on your travel speed. It varies person to person. Okay, now there I pulled that long arc, and then I shortened her back up just so you can see. Here we go one more time. Stick, pop it loose. Now, again, weld pool shortened up, and we're producing a weld. Okay, and very short welds. All in all, it's going to be kind of challenging. I don't want anyone to get super discouraged. Again, like I said at the very beginning of this video, if we don't get it day one, let's worry about day two. The keys are be patient. Make sure we have an air gap. Establish a long arc and shorten up. And if the electrode sticks, break it loose. Keep your hood down. Pull the electrode out of the stinger. Practice, practice, practice. Thanks, guys.